What if awakening isn't a sunrise, but a fire alarm? Let me tell you something few people admit. When the veil lifts, the nervous system loses its favorite anesthetics. The dreams that held your life together step aside, and the raw world walks in, unfiltered, unnegotiated. You've felt this, haven't you? The sudden clarity that tastes like vertigo. The holiness that arrives with a tremor. We call it collapse, as if it were failure. But in the language of the psyche, collapse can be the scaffolding, finally letting the house stand by itself. Freud would say, defenses relax, the repressed returns, meaning reorders. Awakening isn't the end of suffering. It is the end of certain lies. And lies, even tender ones, were holding you up. We confuse enlightenment with escape. Yet light does not remove the room. It reveals the dust. Awakening is not an acquisition, it's a subtraction. The ego sheds costumes, the superego loses its megaphone, the shadow steps out of the basement. The collapse that follows is not a curse, it is the psyche renegotiating power. The old managers, denial, projection, idealization, file their resignations. For a time, nobody's in charge. This is what your chest calls falling. It is also what your soul calls beginning, not diagnoses. Stations on a road the heart walks when it stops pretending. Everything feels too loud. Colors, voices, memories. The world's volume is not higher. The padding is gone. Repression used to soften the edges. Now edges touch skin. You may mistake sensitivity for weakness. It isn't. It is contact. The task is not to grow new armor. It is to let perception become precision. Notice without flooding. Name without rushing. The self isn't vanishing. It's meeting what it avoided. An old judge puts on new clothes. It quotes poets now. It demands constant serenity, weaponizes compassion, calls any tremor unawakened. Beware the halo that humiliates. Freud knew the superego loves disguises. It will turn your glimpse of truth into a whip. When holiness hurts like that, you're not enlightened. You're enlisted. Trade purity for honesty. Let your awakening include your anger, your hunger, your messy human pulse. Sanctity that forbids humanity is just repression with incense. Dreams grow crowded. Old fears knock. Strange desires walk past the mirror and wave. The shadow arrives not as enemy, but as evidence. What you pushed away still lives. After awakening, you cannot keep the prison and call it freedom. Projection loses its aim. People stop wearing your unfinished stories so faithfully. You start seeing them as themselves, and the vacancy where your story used to sit frightens you. Good. That space is where you can finally choose. For a while, the myths collapse and nothing replaces them. Prayers feel like air. Work tastes like cardboard. The specialness you once rented from grand narratives expires. This is nihilism's visit. Do not build a house for it. Offer a chair. The psyche is detoxing from intensity as identity. Ordinary life looks pale because your eyes are recalibrating. Meaning will return, smaller and truer. First comes quiet, then comes bread. Awakening lowers the mind's noise enough for the body to speak. Tremor, fatigue, heat, tears that arrive without a headline. The body carries minutes the mind forgot. When the lights turn on, it unloads its boxes. Don't translate every ache into a cosmic lesson. Some aches are simply the bill for years of bracing. Let the animal exhale. Slow walks, water, sun on your face. Sleep that is not performance. You are not a sermon. You are a mammal. Here is the unbearable pearl. To wake up is to lose the flattering fiction that you were one heroic self. The costume closet opens and you find a chorus. Some parts tender, some parts terrified, some parts manipulative in beautiful language. The ego resists this democracy. It prefers the throne, yet the throne was the cage. Awareness breaks it and grief enters like weather. You are not failing. You are attending your own coronation and funeral at once. The death of the immaculate persona, the rise of a human who can love without pretending to be a statue. How to keep walking without turning the light off. Name the season. This is the reordering. Language is a handrail. Collapse becomes a phase, not a verdict. Choose small, real rituals. A cup of tea you actually taste. 2 pages in a plain notebook. A daily window of sky. Let meaning shrink until it is digestible. Beware holiness that humiliates. When your practice makes you cruel to yourself, you're serving the judge, not the soul. Replace rules with relationships, to breath, to body, to one trustworthy person. Return projections. When an old story pins itself to someone's face, say quietly, "That's mine, own it." The shadow becomes teacher when it stops being courier. Sublimate the excess. The energy that used to maintain illusion is now free. Give it craft. Plant something. Learn an instrument. Build the ordinary as if it were sacred, because it is. Let help be human. Companionship is not a step backward. Ask for a walk, not a rescue. Choose listeners who don't sell answers. This is not therapy advice. It is tenderness in plain clothes. Let time work. Truth does not rush. Imagine a room after a storm. The floor is damp. The air is clean. A single lamp burns on the table, steady, unromantic. You sit, you breathe, you touch the wood. You do not preach to the rain. You let the quiet have your name. You're not broken. You're simply awake. Be gentle with the house while the frames settle. Eat, sleep, step into the day that needs no miracle, only your honest weight upon the floor. Let me tell you something few seekers confess. After the veil lifts, the ego does not die. It changes clothes. It learns the language of light. It quotes sages, fasts beautifully, smiles like a statue, and quietly rebuilds the old anesthesia with sacred tools. What if much of what we call advanced practice is simply avoidance with better incense? You've felt the suspicion, haven't you? The way a certain serenity feels brittle. The way compassion can become a performance that keeps you from crying where it hurts. Awakening shakes the scaffolds. The clever mind rushes to erect new ones, made of mantra, posture, certainty. The collapse returns, dressed in white. We love the staircase to heaven. Climbing soothes the panic of being animal. But healing is not ascent. It is digestion. The psyche must chew what it once swallowed whole. Grief, rage, longing, shame. To digest is to metabolize, not to transcend. If your enlightenment refuses the body, humiliates tears, and punishes attachment, it's not light. It's a diet that starves the soul. So let's name the bright shadow, not to scold, but to see. Seeing is the beginning of mercy, not diagnoses. Mirrors held at honest angles. Pain knocks. You answer with aphorisms. All is one. It's just ego. The phrases are true in heaven and unhelpful in kitchens. This is spiritual bypass, skipping morning by taking the express elevator to absolute truth. The child in you watches the elevator doors close and learns again that feelings are embarrassing. Freud would nod. Repression has discovered poetry. The cure is not to abandon the sky. It is to return with bread. Let the cosmic perspective sit beside you while you weep about earthly things. God does not need you to behave. God needs you to be honest. A flash of insight can feel like a crown. Suddenly you are the one who sees. Praise arrives. You become indispensable, magnetic, gently superior. The psyche, hungry for worth, drinks holiness like champagne. This is inflation, the self enlarged to escape the humiliation of need. Watch for its tells. Impatience with ordinary people, contempt for complexity, a secret relief when others struggle because it confirms your altitude. Antidote, small chores done slowly. Wash a cup. Ask a question whose answer you do not know. Go to the next person in line at the bakery as if reality placed them there to teach you how to wait. After collapse, we crave a handrail. We project it onto gurus, lovers, systems. At last, the parent who won't fail. Transference paints authority with childhood colors. The teacher becomes father, the lineage becomes mother, the group becomes siblings. For a time it helps. Then the human leaks through the halo and the old wound screams. You will be tempted to call it betrayal. Sometimes it is. Often it is reality puncturing your projection. Keep the practice. Return the parent. Let teachers be skilled humans, not gods. Let paths be tools, not destinies. Maturity begins where worship becomes work. The inner judge loves monasteries it can carry into the city. Strict diets, rigid schedules. It vows disguised as high standards. It promises freedom through purity and delivers fragility. One broken rule and shame floods the room. This is moral masochism, suffering as proof of goodness. Mercy interrupts. Choose disciplines that enlarge your humanity, not your pride. If your practice makes you harsher, it's the judge-leading prayer. Invite mess in measured doses. Eat with friends. Laugh mid-meditation, let the floor be imperfect. A clean heart can live in a slightly dirty house. Be here now, you whisper, and your body disappears. Timelessness becomes a trance that erases context and consequence. Bills gather like crows, relationships wilt, and you call it non-attachment. Often it is dissociation, an elegant refusal to remember and imagine. Healthy presence has two hands. One holds now, the other holds then and later. Memory restores meaning. Planning protects life. Breathe into the invoice. Meditate with a calendar. Let awareness include clocks without being devoured by them. Here is the price of real light. You relinquish specialness. The costume closet begs, saint, seer, untouchable witness. You hang the outfits back where they belong and enter your kitchen bareheaded. You cut fruit. You answer texts. You apologize without footnotes. The ego howls because it equated extraordinariness with safety. But safety was never on the throne. It was in the floorboards of the ordinary you abandoned. Death of the halo, birth of the human. Grief for the role, relief for the heart. Let's translate vision into furniture you can sit on, the grief minute. Once a day, 1 minute, eyes open. Name what hurts in plain words. No metaphysics. I miss. I'm scared. I'm angry. Stop at 60 seconds. Teach the nervous system that feeling is survivable and bounded. Body before belief. When certainty spikes, scan, jaw, belly, breath. If your body is armored, your belief is likely a shield. Soften the body first. Revisit the claim second, one unglamorous act. Do one task each day that no one sees. Sweep, fix a button, water a plant. Treat it as temple work. Inflation cannot survive the sink. Language hygiene. Replace cosmic evasions with concrete sentences. Not everything happens for a reason, but I don't understand this and it hurts. Truth organizes chaos. Repair over revelation. When conflict arises, choose a small repair before a big teaching. I raised my voice. I'm sorry. Insight is poor currency where a simple apology will do. 2 worlds calendar. Schedule time for sky, practice contemplation, and time for ground, budget, errands, check-ins. Keep both promises. Integration is timetable tenderness. Choose commons with friction. Join groups that welcome feedback and rotate leadership. Communities that cannot be questioned are orphanages for adult children. Sublimate excess light. Turn surplus fervor into craft. Write, garden, code, compose. Let devotion make something that can be handed to another pair of hands. None of this is heroic. That's the point. Soul grows where drama quiets. Picture a kitchen after evening practice. The cushion leans against the chair. The kettle hums. You slice an orange, and the room fills with a modest sun. No choirs, no thunder. Just citrus on fingers, steam on the window, a floor that remembers your weight. You stand there, awake enough to notice, ordinary enough to belong. You're not broken. You're simply awake. Let the halo rest. Lift the broom. Make tea for the part of you that survived the halo falls, and teach it how to live with light. Is not the end of the self. It is the end of the costume. What returns is a simpler creature, one that can pray and pay bills, weep and make plans, kneel and say no. The first simplicity was innocence. The second simplicity is compost. Broken myths turned into soil that can grow a life. You don't float now. You stand. You're not above the world. You belong to it responsibly. The collapse wasn't a failure. It was demolition, so the foundation could be inspected. Now comes the architecture that holds in weather. You don't need a shining identity. You need a sturdy bowl. Something wide enough for joy and grief, strong enough for conflict, simple enough to wash by hand. Freud would point to sublimation, turning raw drives into work that serves life. Let's add kindness, not purity, not performance. The rebuilt self is a container that organizes heat without exploding or going cold. Ethics become warmth with edges. Vocation becomes devotion with calendars. Practice becomes a low, faithful flame, not steps, doorways. Visit them often. The bright fall frees energy that once maintained illusion. Aim it. Vocation is not a pedestal. It's a channel where your aliveness irrigates a real field. Ask 3 questions. What pain do I understand from the inside? What craft lets me turn that pain into usefulness without bleeding out? What boundaries keep the channel clear? Hours, prices, peers. No when my body says no. Sublimation without boundaries is martyrdom. With boundaries it is service. You don't have to save the world. Water the square of earth that knows your name. You can be awake and attached. Attachment is not a fall. It is a form of attention with a face. The trick is refusing the old detours. No spiritual slogans to avoid apology. No higher perspective to skip repair. Keep a simple covenant. Presence, truth, repair. Presence, show up as yourself, not as a role. Truth, name impact before interpretation. Repair, shorter than a sermon, sooner than your pride prefers. If either of you drifts into performance, ring the small bell you keep on the shelf. Begin again as mammals who care. The judge returns with many robes. Let conscience lead instead. How to tell them apart. Superego shouts and shames. Conscience is quiet and specific. Superego loves extremes. Conscience loves proportion. Practice a nightly sort. What did I do that shrank someone? What did I do that grew us? Adjust tomorrow's dial by 1 click. No lash, no halo, just calibration. Moral life is a craft, not a costume. Enlightenment that can't keep a calendar is just another trance. Put devotion into spreadsheets. Give your week 2 columns. Sky, practice art, silence. And ground, money, meals, maintenance. Appoint hours to both. Keep the appointments as if someone you respect will be there, because someone will be, the future you who needs the rent paid and the soul watered. When scarcity fear rises, breathe. Choose 1 honest invoice, 1 honest rest. Civilization begins at the kitchen table. Communities heal or hypnotize. Choose ones with valves, shared rules, rotating leadership, feedback that can move in both directions. Beware circles that cannot laugh at themselves or that punish questions with distance. Bring your light and your doubt. Offer labor. Receive care. Let belonging have boundaries so it does not become a spell. You are not joining to disappear. You are joining to stay human together. You will forget. The old halo will glitter. The cape will wink from the chair. Make a relapse ritual. Name it, normalize it, navigate it. I'm bypassing, rescuing, inflating. Normalize, of course I am. This is an old road. Navigate, 1 breath, 1 repair, 1 recommitment. Recovery from illusion is seasonal. Wisdom is how fast you come home. Here is the cost that liberates. You release the fantasy of graduation. No final certificate, no permanent altitude. Just cycles, wake, wobble, repair, repeat. The ego mourns. It wanted a medal. The human smiles. It wanted a life. The sacred takes off its shoes and steps into your kitchen. The ordinary glows without needing to be called divine. This is adulthood after awakening. Not a statue in a temple, but a person who can carry light and groceries up the same flight of stairs. Make the truths domestic. Let them live in drawers and on walls. Rule of 3. Each day, 1 act for body, move or rest. 1 for relation, honest check-in. 1 for craft, 90 minutes of focused work. Enoughness is medicine. Monday, liturgy. Review money, meals, and meetings with the same calm you bring to meditation. Put 1 small joy on the calendar before you add obligations. Red pencil test, superego audit. When you scold yourself, write the sentence. Cross out the insult, keep the instruction. You're lazy. Do better becomes do 30 focused minutes at 4 p.m. The 2-minute repair. When you hurt someone, offer 2 minutes of undiluted responsibility. No explaining, no theologizing. Then demonstrate change once. Boundary blessing. Before you say no, place a hand on your chest and whisper, I protect this so love has somewhere to live. Then say no plainly. Seasonal review, 4 times a year. Ask, what is too tight? What is too loose? What wants to be planted, tended, harvested, composted? Adjust your hours, not your worth. No cape, no halo. Keep a visible token, a folded scarf and a small ring. When you feel the urge to rescue or to shine, touch them and choose the middle path. Help cleanly, serve quietly, stay human. None of this is therapy. It is housekeeping for a soul that refuses to split itself to be loved. Morning. A small chapel in your ribs lights 1 candle. You stand there for 3 breaths, say nothing true but simple. Then you walk into the market of the day, lists, traffic, bills, faces. The candle does not argue with prices. It just burns. You haggle kindly. You carry fruit. You hold one hand, then let it go at the corner where their road turns. You return home at dusk. The candle is still there, smaller, steadier. You're not broken. You're simply awake. Let the light be ordinary. Let the work be sacred enough. Build a bowl that can hold both rain and soup, and live from it quietly, bravely again tomorrow.